It's a long way to the top. But if you take it step by step, you'll make it. Let's climb that VO ladder with our hosts, Troy Holden and Will Vincent.
All right, and welcome back to the voiceover ladder. This is who is that guy? That's that Will Vincent, way out there in the cold of Minnesota.
Nobody wants to hear that guy.
And here's old Tater Town here. But hey, this week we're down in single digits. The end of this week, I freaking dread it. I hate it. And I know we always open with the weather, but you know what? It's important.
You want to talk weather?
Somebody needs to know.
So I think we got up.
Somebody needs
we got
to
up
know.
to 2 today.
Holy shit!
It's like negative 24 outside right now.
Oh, it's not fun. I don't envy that. I just don't. I don't desire it. I'm so ready for spring. I'm so ready for people to cram these masks up somewhere that I don't have to see them. I'm ready for some change. But we're going to talk today about equipment and starting up in voiceover. The minimal, cheapest way to get started, to really figure out, is this what you want to do? And that's why we want to give you that. Then we want to say, maybe you kind of started and you know you really want to do this. Here's some things that'll help you out. And then we'll kind of dive in a little deeper to the high-end stuff.
Yeah, couple different budget levels, because that's always cool.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
So where do we start? I'm
broker.
Where do we start? I'm brand new. I've got maybe $100. Where do I start?
Oh, I can tell you what I did, right, wrong, or indifferent. I bought a USB mic, and I still have it. And you've probably some people have heard it. I've done some sound comparisons with it. It is it was the Fifine 670 off of Amazon, and I believe
it's about $60.
60 bucks. Yeah, $60. And I bought a spring arm for about $20. It was the newer, I think, NEWER, EER, however it's spelled. They're on Amazon. And that was it.
What about headphones? You just use like Apple earbuds or something? Whatever you had laying around?
I did for about a week. And I found out they leaked. They do leak. So I bought I went back to Amazon, of course, and I got a pair of JVCs. They were about $20, but I know you had something maybe a little different. Maybe there was a Tascam that you had run into or heard about.
I had used a Tascam, which they've been around forever in the studio business, recording gear. Now, keep in mind, these are cheap headphones. They're not top of the line, but you can get a pair of Tascam, what are they, TH02, for about $30, brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And
that will get you by.
They will do a decent job for you. Now they're not over the ear; they're on the ear, but they're closed back. They'll keep the sound in pretty well. So, and yeah,
a lot better than
USB
those,
mic,
iPod
USB
things.
mic, and a quality USB cable to go with that mic. You don't have to worry about
don't cheap out on the cable.
Don't have to worry about an interface. I mean, it doesn't get easier than that. And you're not compromising sound quality, really, because even though it's only $60, that Fifine is remarkably high quality for the price. So, I agree. That would be the place to start.
I probably did, I don't know, a couple $1,000s of work with that thing. Right out of the chute. I mean, so it more than paid for itself. It helped me save up to get something else. Very important, though, that if you can spend, like Will said on the USB cable, get a good USB cable. Don't get the $2 one. Get a good one. You got to have a laptop or a computer
to hook it up to.
Of course, to get started. Yep, got to have something to plug into to record
and then
yourself.
You'll need software to record.
You got to pick a free DAW. Yep, pick a free DAW. There's a couple of good ones out there. You can get Reaper for free for a while. But as we've said on here before, I think we talked about a few weeks ago, once you get to where you can pay for it, pay for it. But
yeah, officially,
I think it's better to start.
Officially, it's something like a month, might be 2-month trial, and then you are supposed to pay for it. They don't force you to pay for it because you can keep using it for free indefinitely. You just have to wait a longer amount of time. when you start it, well, the neg screen counts down and then goes away. But it's great software and it's not expensive. You should buy it anyway. If you're making money with it, there's no reason not to. Audacity
I
is
think
free.
it's smarter to start there. It is free. Audacity, you will find, in my opinion, and a lot of people just keep using it, but I find there's issues with plugins and getting things into it that you want to. I had it with Waves NS1 and it helped, but nothing like what you can do with the other. I mean, you're better off because that way at least you learn one. Because once you learn a DAW, it's hard to break away from it, I think. Because you feel comfortable, you're doing good with it, you're making some money, and then it's hard to break away. So if you'll start with Reaper, you'll probably finish with Reaper.
Or Audition, but you're going to pay
bad
monthly
move.
for Audition. So, or a bit, or
about 22
or an
bucks.
annual fee. I guess you can register it by the year, but
Yeah, I think you can. Yep.
but that's going to
So-
cost you a lot more. 3 months of Audition is a Reaper license that'll last you for several years. So with the Reaper license, you're good for 2 full major revisions, and they release minor revisions often. So I registered Reaper 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer than that, and I'm good until they release the next major version, which maybe at the earliest will be next year.
Mm-hmm. I wish I'd have had this advice when I started with the DAW. All I heard was Audacity and Audition. I did not find Booth Junkie till later, and if I had, I probably would have started with Reaper.
Well,
So I think it's good
I
advice.
think in a lot of ways, Audition is a little bit more user-friendly. It's a little bit easier to get up to speed on because just the way it looks. Adobe obviously has a lot of resources to pour into user experience, and it shows. Reaper's fantastic, but out of the box it comes set up for recording music, and the assumption is that you're recording music and producing music, so everything is set up so that it'll snap to beats, and it's set up to a certain beat per minute, and you can turn all of that off. You can configure it pretty much exactly how you want. You can change how it looks. You can change pretty much everything about it, but it doesn't come that way. But as you mentioned, Booth Junkie on YouTube has a fantastic series of, I think it's 3 or 4 videos walking you through from you just opened it for the first time to you've got it set up perfectly for voiceover with presets that it automatically loads when you open a new project. And it stores it, it'll write a new directory and do backups and stuff for you for every single project, and it's a complete thing. So
Yeah, I need to do some advanced Audition stuff. I'm comfortable. I'm good with what I'm doing, but it'll do more than what I'm doing. And you can tell it's very geared for voiceover because even a lot of your presets in there, are named that way, for radio announcer and this. So yeah, it's very geared. And there's no wrong if you say, well, I don't mind spending $20 a month or $25. If that's what you want, go ahead. But we're trying to give you the cheap way in and make it as least painful as possible. And especially if you're just wanting to try this out. I'm not really sure I want to do this. I'd like to try it, so why go buy $1,000 worth of stuff when you can literally get in, if you got a decent PC at home, you can get in for, $100.
now here's one
pretty
caveat.
much.
You cannot skimp on your location. You have to have a quiet, at least partially treated space to record in, or you could have the most expensive, well, it'd be even worse if you had the most expensive gear. You could have the most expensive gear and be producing crap that nobody wants to pay for. But that can still be done on a budget. Got a closet full of clothes? Walk in there and cover yourself up with a blanket. You're done. It can be as easy as that. There are people who work professionally every single day who record in a walk-in closet.
Still.
Yeah, and they have no reason to
Yes,
change.
still.
Because it works perfect.
Making 6 figures in a walk-in.
Mhm.
Yep. Very true. So if you want to go second level, I don't want a USB mic. I got $400 or $500 I want to invest in this. This is the cheapest startup business I've ever done, and I want a little better stuff. So Where would you point them on an interface?
Yeah, well, now we're going to be talking about interfaces and XLR mics, which, that's obviously where you graduate to. But the good news is once you've graduated there at any level, you're there. So you buy the good cables and you use the good cables with every mic, right? We'll get to that. Interface-wise, we're probably looking at something like the Focusrite Solo, which is, I think, about $120. I have a Behringer, what is it, UMC 404 HD that has 4 inputs on it. So that Solo has 1. Mine has 4 inputs, which obviously you don't need, but it's also got very, very good preamps, and I think the price on it was like $170. So it's a little bit more, but you get a whole, and they've also got a 2-channel version that's less, so you kind of split the difference there.
Right.
So one of those, probably somewhere in the $100 to $150, $170 range for your interface. That'll get you going for a while. We talked about good cables. Get you some Mogami cables. They are world's best cable. There's a reason they have that label. They will last you forever. Invest in them. We were talking earlier. It's like when you go to buy tools. If you're gonna work on something around the house, and you might have to do it again sometime down the road, you want to put a little money into the tools, because otherwise next time you need to use them, they might not work. Kind of the same idea, but in this case, it's not even so much, how long are they going to last, because you plug in a cable, if it doesn't move, it'll keep working. But the cheaper cables are going to pick up interference from radio stations, from power, from whatever, right? RF interference. You'll get buzzes and hums and just crackles and nastiness. You don't want any of that. You want the best quality sound you can get, and a big part of that is cables. So don't skimp on the cables, USB or XLR or HDMI or whatever cables you buy for whatever purpose. Get the good stuff. It's worth it.
One and done.
And then microphones. Well, there's really 3 different kinds of microphone that you could use. Really only 2 for voiceover, although you could get into dynamic mics, broadcast mics. They're really not perfectly suited to voiceover, but if you've got a less than ideal environment, it might be something to consider, because they're a lot more restrictive about what they pick up. And for that, you could go as easy as, what are they? The Shure SM58? Is that it? 57, 58? You'll know it when you see it. It's the microphone that everybody uses on stage. You go to a karaoke bar, it's what they've got hanging up there by the machine. It's what everybody uses for live performance, because it has a small pickup area directly in front of it, and that's it, right? So that's a good choice if you're going to go with a dynamic mic and you want something cheap. Those are about $100. And there are lots of clones, other companies. You get the real thing, I would say.
Yeah, I think if I was going to spend the $100, I would also look at if I wanted this type mic, I'd look at the MXL 770 or 990. Could possibly be one of the hidden Best Buys out there. You can see reviews on them. They stand up next to a lot of big name mics. They're heavy, they're well made, and they last. I had one back when I recorded music 12, 14 years ago, and it had been moved out here to my farm 8 years ago and was in a plastic box in my shop, and I dug it out when I started voiceover, and I'll be darned, it sounded fantastic.
That was the next kind of mic I was going to mention, is the condenser mic, the large diaphragm, and that would be probably an MXL. Either the 770 or the 990, they're both good choices. They're about $80 probably, somewhere in that neighborhood. Solid mic, and if you really want to, you can get kits to upgrade the internals of them. You could spend another couple $100 on that mic body and effectively turn it into a Neumann in terms of the internals and the condenser.
That's pretty neat.
It's about $300, I think, for the parts.
And you could literally stick with the same same headphones. So maybe, you know, we were talking about earlier, $30 headphones. You don't have to increase there, but
you could.
Going backwards, you could step up a little. I know that there's
at some point you're probably
you mentioned a Sony.
At some point you're probably going to want to once you start, especially if you move to a condenser mic. Well, I guess the Fifine is a condenser mic, but once you've got more nuanced sound going on, and you want to be able to make sure that you're EQing it properly and you're not missing things because your headphones are limited or whatever, then you're going to want to start thinking about better headphones. The Sony, the MDR 7506 broadcast standard, they are fantastic. They're really comfortable. They sound good. You'll really like the sound of your voice with them, which can be a good thing for a voiceover person because you're going to listen to yourself a lot. They're not necessarily true, though. So what I mean by that is they might make you sound really good, and you might not actually sound quite that good in the recording because they've got an interesting response pattern that, you know, it's got a little higher bass, and so just be aware of that. Beyerdynamics are good. I am not happy with mine at the moment because I cannot drive them enough to be loud enough. They sound good, they're just not loud enough. And maybe that's because I was a DJ for many years and working in loud nightclubs and I can't hear very good anymore. Could be.
Yeah, tone deaf.
Well, I'm not tone deaf. I'm just deaf.
I didn't know if you'd catch that one. Surely not. Oh,
and then the other kind of microphone
but back to what we said.
The other kind of microphone is a shotgun. And
the shotgun.
So
I have
got
one
a couple
of
of options for that in this sort of price range of, you know, maybe a couple $100. The Synco, right? The Synco D2, and then the Deity, S-Mic 2. Both really solid options. They're fairly comparable in a way to the Sennheiser 416, which of course is the industry standard shotgun mic for voiceover, but it is also a $1,000 microphone.
Yeah, very expensive. Especially right now in phase 2. You don't need that.
Yeah, well, and
if you want to experiment,
this could be your phase 1 if you've got the money to pay for it.
Right.
Go ahead and start here. But you know, the more expensive, the top of the line stuff, the Neumann 103s and 102s and the Sennheiser 416s, stuff like that, where they're $1,000 microphones, you're not at this level. If you're ready for those, then you know that you're ready for those. We're not really talking to you right now. Sorry.
You better spend the money on your room treatment.
Absolutely.
If you've got that extra money, buy more room treatment because you're going to cut down your editing time, your frustrations and all of getting noise out. The room is the
if
deal.
you've got if money's not an issue and you've got the money to go buy the Sennheiser 416 or the Neumann 102 or 103, okay, I'm not going to tell you no. They are fantastic microphones. However, like Troy said, treat your room first. Because if you put a great microphone in a crappy room, it's going to sound like crap. And the other thing is, once you've got your treated room, get some coaching. Absolutely get some coaching.
Oh my gosh,
because
yes.
Why are you spending thousands of dollars on gear if you don't know how to read?
Right. Exactly. And I'm telling you, and I'll tell anybody that ask about this, you're going to be coached forever in this business. You have to be. Everybody has heard on a previous broadcast where we interviewed Mike Hathcote, and Mike very blatantly told you he has 4 coaches to this day, and he rotates them based on where he feels like he's drowning. So it's going to be a part of your business. So we get through this first part. Let's talk just a little bit before we stop about some of the high-end stuff that we want to get one day, or we may be working on getting, as far as mic and your interface.
Now
what do you
there's
like?
Some stuff beyond what I'm willing to pay for that is like the top of the top. Not for me. I don't feel that I need that. I probably will never need that. I just got a Solid State Logic SSL2 that is fantastic. Audient makes some fabulous products the ID4, ID14, the Evo 4 and 8, fantastic interfaces. And then the other, sort of cream of the crop that everybody aspires to is the Apollo, the Twin and the Solo, and there might be a couple others. Now, I have recently read several people say that in terms of quality, the SSL2 and the Apollo are exactly on par, and the Apollo costs twice as much. The Apollo, I don't know if it's the Twin or the Solo. One of them is $500, and the SSL2 is, $230. And what I've read is that what you're really paying for with the Apollo is the plugins, because it's got processing built in. It has its own really good plugins. It can do all the processing and stuff. Now, the problem with that, as far as I'm concerned, is that, if you're doing processing on input, you no longer have raw audio, ever. Your raw audio is processed. And now it may be very well processed, but that's something to consider. Now, that might be good if you're traveling and you want to keep things small. You take a laptop and your one interface and your one microphone, and you don't even have to load up the laptop with the plugins that you would normally use, in post, because you've got everything ready to go on input. That might be a good thing. You'll also, here's another benefit, you will sound the way that it's going to sound when you deliver it on a directed session or on a Zoom call or whatever. So there's benefit to it, certainly. Is it for everybody? No, definitely not.
Very interesting. Yeah. All of the stuff, some of it's overwhelming. There's so much out there and so much to choose from, and there's so many opinions. It's hard to be sure.
You know what they say about opinions.
Yes, I do. But I like to hear firsthand from somebody I know. That helps me a lot. If somebody else has bought it and used it and they're happy with it, that helps me think, well, it's probably pretty good. Yeah, reviews are great. The Booth Junkie stuff is great, but it really helps when somebody says, hey, I've had that for 3 months and I really, really like it. That helps.
Now, fully transparent, I've had this for 3 hours. So right. I just got it today, but I really like the sound of it. I think it's fantastic. And
it has stellar reviews.
And I really don't think I'm going to need to upgrade at this point. I think I'm set.
Right, that's good.
And you've got the Audient?
I got the ID4. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy with it. It's clean. It sounds great. I like the controls being up on top of it versus I had the PreSonus Studio 24C. No complaints about the sound. But it was like a monkey jungle in here to have everything plugged up. I didn't like it. And it had all these little knobs, and they were on the front, and they were close together, and it was hard to turn them. And this one, I've got a mute button for the monitors that I like. As long as I have my monitor mix set correctly, I don't ever have to touch anything, which is what I like. The other one, I was always having to turn something off because I'd have feedback when I switched over.
If you do have to change it, it's on top, not little knobs on the front.
Yes, I can. Yeah, this I can see. And another cool thing, it's got this ID button you can hit, and it literally takes over for your mouse, your main monitor dial. Takes over for your mouse on the screen. That's kind of neat. I haven't used it much.
That'd be fabulous for some of those awful YouTube scripts. If you got to scroll through
That's
the page.
what I'm thinking. And I haven't tried that yet. Now that I have my second monitor up high, I want to try that. I want to hit that ID button and try it and see if I can just scroll my Word docs. And as long as I set my mouse up there where it's supposed to be, I can. So I think I'm going to try that. Hey, before we go, let's talk real quick about some mics as we move up the chain. And you've mentioned some of we call the ultimates, the 416s and the Neumanns. There are some $300 to $600 mics that they can hang with anybody. You are talking through one right now.
So you're talking through a Neumann right now.
I am, but I was the fortunate victim of a guy needing Christmas money.
Well,
So I
his
got a
loss
deal.
is your gain.
You know, so there's no way. Yeah, there's no way I'd have given. And I think the last ad I saw, these are up to 13.
Yeah, 12 or 1300. Yep.
I think. Yeah. So there's no way I'd ever done that. But for $500, I
So you
couldn't.
paid less
say
than
no.
half price for a $1,000 mic.
Mm-hmm.
I am talking on a mic that sounds very similar to yours, and
Very
mine was
similar.
brand new, not discounted, $270.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is the
And you know, that week I was wrestling with buying
Yep.
that mic. I was ready to order it, and then that popped up on my Facebook. feed
this is
that the guy had.
this
it
is
for
the
sale.
Lewitt LCT 440 Pure. If you've seen my demo, you know that I love this mic. I included a spot
Yes.
for it in my demo.
Yeah,
But it's
properly
it's
named.
so beautiful, and it sounds good, but it's nice to look at. It's just wonderful
Mm-hmm.
engineering. I love it. And it's a great price.
And we
it's
have
about
another
$280,
guy on the.
something like there's several people.
That is fantastic.
there's several people
Fantastic.
in our circles on Facebook that are using this mic, and they absolutely love it. In fact, one of the reviews that I saw on the SSL2 on Amazon right before I bought it, the guy specifically mentioned this mic, and he had bought this to have something to travel with, the SSL, and he loved it so much that he replaced his Apollo with it. And then he went on and said specifically pair it with a Lewitt mic, the 240 or the 440 or the 550, I think. 540. They're all 40. And he said it's fantastic. He also has a Neumann, and he said it has not left its box in months. So there you go.
mhm. That's what I'm afraid of if I buy one of those. There's a guy on our ladder, Tim Stevenson. He just bought a Stellar X2, and he had one of those King Bees or
Worker
whatever
bee.
you call it, and it sounded good. But man, that Stellar, he was on it the other day and sent me a sample. I really liked it. It's got a really good sound. So I'm seeing that name more. I saw maybe a couple people had bought them.
A couple people
recently.
just bought the X2, and I believe Tim was saying something about you can send them a sample recorded with the mic and tell them which mic it was, and they can EQ it and send you back what you would sound like on the other mics in the line, because there's the X2 and there's an X3 and there's some others, right?
Okay, that's
Because it's
pretty
their
cool.
mic, they know the engineering, they can send you back, here's what you would sound like on this one or on that one.
Yeah.
So if you're not quite happy with the sound, or you're just
That's
curious,
a ballsy warranty, isn't
right?
it? Yeah, that is ballsy. Oh, I'd never do that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's,
Well, of course, we do that
that's
every
good,
day.
though. I
Here's
mean,
your
that's-
audition, and that's what it'll sound
you know,
like.
that's you stand behind your product because you believe in it, because you build something that's worthwhile.
that is good.
So
That is good. So, what do you think about the CAD E100?
I haven't tried it,
know Booth
but I hear
Junkie.
lots of great things. That's another good one. It's about about $300, I think.
Yep. I see those a lot as well. Well, I think we've went from low end to top end. We've given a lot of information, and if you're just getting started or you're a few months in, you want to do some upgrading, hey, feel free to drop us a question. If we have one of these and we're using it, we'll tell you, what we think about it, and if we don't, we may tell you why we believe in it or why it may be on our want list. You never know.
But I'm going to keep beating this
So,
drum. If you've got money burning a hole in your pocket, treat your room first. Get some coaching first.
Treat your room. Yes.
Then go buy the gear. I know everybody wants to buy gear. It's fun to buy gear. New gear is great.
Mm-hmm.
But treat your room. Get your coaching.
Treat your
Because,
room.
A good brush didn't make Picasso better.
That's right. He could have painted with his toes. Well, probably not.
He may have. His stuff looks kind of weird. Maybe Picasso isn't the best idea. The best analogy.
Oh, I kind of liked it, and I like the tool analogy. I think the tool analogy is great, and especially with a mic cable. I used to do. I sang gospel music for a long time, and we didn't worry a whole lot about buying the best cables. We just bought a lot of cables. You always had a duffel bag full of cables, because if one went out, you went and got another one. And sometimes you might go a couple of months and not even plug them in, and it's probably the way that stuff gets handled. It's terrible. But
That's probably the way.
Yeah, these are
probably the way they get wrapped,
these are
because a
your
lot of
tools.
people will take a cable and wrap it around their elbow and their wrist. And,
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
ever do that. If we ever meet in
No,
person and I see you do
circle
that,
wrap.
I'm going to smack you in the face.
I'll be sure. I always coil wrap in a circle. I've always done that. But
The best way is the
I've seen
over-under.
People do that.
It's difficult to get your head around, but like you go
Yeah.
over, and then the opposite one goes the opposite direction. And then the cool thing about that is you can grab one end and throw it, and it'll perfectly line up straight. It'll never be coiled. It won't get any twists in it.
Yeah.
They actually in Japan they have competitions, cable rolling competitions, where
Oh
they'll
my
have
gosh. They do
several hundred
everything
feet of
crazy there.
cable, and whoever gets them rolled up properly fastest wins. It's crazy.
Jeez.
It's on YouTube.
I
Go
was-
look it up.
I
It's
was over there,
crazy.
I was over there years ago and watched a guy pushing eggs with a forklift on the floor with a forklift. Never broke them. It's crazy. They can do all kind of stuff. Hey, we're going to get out of here. We've kept you guys a long time, but sometimes it's worth it when we're talking about gear, because we like gear.
A lot of info in this one too.
Yep, we like gear. So everybody have a good week, and we'll be back again next week with more exciting, wonderful information from the cold chill of Minnesota and from Tennessee Tater Town. We'll see you guys next time.
Ciao.
The VoiceOver Ladder is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss an episode, because we may drop one at any moment. Do we know what we're doing? Not really. But we are learning and making progress, one rung at a time, as we all climb the VO Ladder.
Thanks for listening to the VoiceOver Ladder. This podcast is not instructional, but it's a conversational pile of opinions on what has or hasn't worked for some people. It's just advice, and nothing's guaranteed. And like life, you try some things out and you see what happens. We do appreciate you listening, though, and look forward to your comments on our podcast and ideas you might have for future shows. And until then, keep on grinding.